All right, well, let's go.
All right, let's see how far we get. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Road Noise. I'm glad you're hanging out here with Dad and I, and we were just kind of reflecting on adventures and life and more adventures and all that good stuff. And that's been kind of the theme, of course, with this these conversations as Dad kind of reflects back on all the adventures in ministry over the last 50 some years and just God's faithfulness all along the way. And I'm excited to hear where we're going to tonight, Dad.
Hey, those adventures continue. On a almost a daily basis.
Yep.
Oh, but let's go back in time. This might be a relatively short podcast, but I wanted to share it anyway because it it left an impression on me at the time. Now we have to go way back in time, and let me tell you how we did our newsletters. Our newsletters were pretty much done on a typewriter. And if you made a mistake, yeah, we used whiteout and covered it up and so forth. And we'd write one article and then we'd print, that'd be on one piece of paper. And then we'd write another article on another piece of paper until we had all the stories for our newsletter. And if you people don't get our newsletter, you still can. We send it out. It only goes out about 3 times a year. So we're not going to, you know, flood your mailbox. We also have, you can get it by way of email. But anyway, back in the days, we didn't have email. And so we'd do it on a typewriter, and then we'd cut each story out. And once it was cut out, then that would get pasted onto another piece of paper, and we'd arrange the stories in the way that we wanted and so forth. Well, I've always been a big fan of having clip art in our newsletter. Now, back when we were doing it on typewriters, you had to buy your clip art, and it really wasn't cheap, but it did make newsletters look better, and so we would buy clip art. Now, if you bought the good clip art, it would come in different. You'd have an image in at least two, maybe four different sizes. I mean, can you imagine?
Okay, wait, Dad, before we go any further, unless someone is as old as you are, no one
They
knows
don't know what
what clip
clip
art
art
is.
is.
Exactly. No, I know what clip
Oh,
art is, but there's going to be several that don't. So you might have to actually explain it.
okay. So, what would be the equivalent term today? Putting an emoji
There you go.
in a
Yeah.
message?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's an image. I mean, today, if you're doing a newsletter, you're probably going to put a picture in there. Well, clip art was just a black and white drawing. I mean, almost like a coloring book drawing, only it's going to be small. So if you wanted a picture of a dog, well, you would buy a clip art that had a dog. And there was people that made their living drawing clip art.
And you would
And
literally clip it out so you could
you would,
use that in your arrangement.
yes, you cut around that, leave a little white space around that, and then you'd glue that wherever you wanted it in your letter. Oh, but wait. If you just glued it there, that's where it's at. And so they had this thing called a waxer. It was a device that you put wax in it and it'd heat the wax up. And then it had a head on it almost like an iron if you're ironing your clothes. No, wait, now I got to explain that too. No one irons clothes anymore. Do you know what an iron is? Well, anyway, so you take this waxer and you'd run that across the back of your piece of clip art, and then you could stick that on your newsletter wherever you wanted it. But remember, this stuff's expensive. And so you could peel it back off. The wax would release and you could peel it off and store that and put it in another newsletter a month or 6 months down the road. Well, so that's what we're doing. Hopefully, that sets the stage to what's going to happen now with our newsletter. All right? Oh, by the way, we did have a waxer and still do. I haven't plugged that thing in years. Oh, and talking about getting the clip art in different sizes. You see, this was before you could put it on a copier and have a copier make it larger or smaller. That came later. Yeah. Today, you take an image and put it in a computer, and you could resize it any size you want in a computer. But this was before computers. All right, so we're talking typewriters, and we're doing things the hard way, but it was a lot of work, but it turned out halfway decent. But a lot of work. Well, anyway, so we had one of these waxers, and we used that. But here's what I wanted to share. I got a phone call from a pastor, and he had just gotten our newsletter in the mail. And he had been on our mailing list for quite a long time at this particular church. And to this day, I don't recall that we have ever done a meeting at that church. I still remember the name of the church. I know exactly where it's at. But we've never done any meetings there. But the reason I remember the name of the church and where it's at is because of his phone call. He had just gotten the newsletter in the mail, and he called and says, Sheldon, I just wanted to thank you for sending us another newsletter. Please keep us on your list. He says, I love all the clip art that you use. That's amazing. And we save your newsletters, and when we need a piece of clip art, we just cut it out of your newsletter and put it in our newsletters. I'm thinking, you dirty dog. Whatever happened to thou shalt not steal? Oh, maybe that only applies to individuals, not churches. I don't know, but that left an impression on me that, yes, somebody really liked getting our newsletters so that they could steal the clip art that we're buying.
Yeah.
Well,
It was
we don't do
licensed
that anymore.
material. Right. Yeah, they don't. Well, there's still a fair amount of stealing that goes on the internet and sharing, I
No
guess.
way.
But yeah, that actually reminds me, Dad, of that one probably hit close to home with you because even more so because you had actually paid for some licensed material that someone else was lifting and repurposing. So when you
Yeah.
actually have skin in the game, yeah, of course you want to protect those rights, and it's absolutely not right that someone would just pick that up and repurpose it without making sure that the license were squared away.
Yeah. And that was not a supporting church of our ministry
Right.
either. I mean,
Yeah.
if you said, hey, we're going to support you for $100 a month or $5 a month, as long as we can keep using your clip art.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, but Exodus 20:15, I mean, it's real short. Thou shalt not steal. I mean,
Yeah. Made it into the Big
and
Ten.
yeah, and of course today with AI and so forth, all the ways you can generate really nice clip art.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's still artists out there that are designing things, and yeah,
Yep. We have come a long ways from waxing up clip art onto a newsletter, but yeah, that's a
yeah.
lot come a long ways.
The other alternative, if you didn't have a waxer, was to use the temporary rubber cement,
Hmm.
and that would kind of do the same thing. But when you peel it off, you still had that sticky rubber cement backing, or the wax. Yeah, that was nice and clean. And when you made copies of your newsletter, the wax didn't show. So even if you had some on the paper, yeah, it just kind of blends in with the paper.
Yeah. My very first job in graphic design back in the late 90s, this the design studio had a giant table backlit, of course, that was specifically for all that paste up, wax up, whatever it was called back in the day. And we hadn't retired it yet. And they put me through the paces and made me how to learn how to use it a few times. I don't
Wow.
miss those days.
We have come a long ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, now Using Microsoft Word or Google Docs, you can create a really nice looking newsletter. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Google do a search and you can find all kinds of free clip art.
Yep. Yep.
Well, speaking of taking things that maybe don't belong to us, do you know why the burglar broke into the bakery at night?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Nope.
it's pretty obvious. He wanted to steal some dough.
Ugh.
Okay, so why did the thief take a bath before he robbed the bank?
No.
He wanted to make a clean getaway.
Clean getaway. I felt I should have known that one as well.
All right, yeah, I'll give you one more opportunity. Why did the thief rob the clock store? Yeah, he wanted to buy some time.
Don't we all? Yeah.
That's all I got for you.
All right. Well, hey, we'll put it in park here and look forward to picking this up again next week.